Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you all, whether it's morning, afternoon, and evening. I want to thank you for coming and being here today. It's now the middle of February. We are now well into February as we move through, and in Canada, we're experiencing very cold winter time now. Ooh, and Nicole, there you are in the beauty of the heat. How are you today, my dear?
I am doing great. I always look forward to our Wednesdays together. You know, they always call it hump day,
Yeah.
but for me, it's very exciting to wake up and have it be Wednesday because this is a great way for me to move into my weekend, and it breaks up, the monotony of Wednesday. So this to me is so much fun. And while you've got this beautiful background here, and I do live across the street from the beach, it is so cold here, Linda. We dipped down into the 30s last night here. And being from California, where everything's pretty warm, and then Arizona where it's hot, this is some new stuff for me. So anyway, I've got my heaters on, but I'm ready to roll, and let's get real.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Well, today we have a very powerful guest with us. And I love that because there's nothing that excites me more than strong, powerful women. And that's what I tend to actually gravitate towards because, it's what I have learned to live with and become in myself, as having a mom that was a powerful woman, and it sort of keeps on going. And this lady here, I want to introduce, she is absolutely spectacular. What do you get when you mix one part energetic problem solver, a generous portion of leadership expertise, and a sprinkle of marathon runner? Can you believe all this? Well, you get Kristie Stocker, an award winning keynote speaker, success coach, and a leadership consultant. Kristie is also CEO of Kinetic Edge LLC, a leadership and high performance company that works with firms to transform their high achievers into rock star leaders so that they can boost the bottom line, build benching strength, and create a competitive edge. And also, she's been coaching and been that driving force of professionalism since 2002 on how to advance their self leadership skills and take their success to unbelievable levels. Her clients like Bosch, Lockheed Martin Leadership Association, and the Institute of Management Accountants know Kristie as the expert in helping them become excuse breaking, fear crushing, goal exceeding leaders. Talk about strength, right? Woo!
That's impressive. I cannot wait for this
Okay.
interview.
But when she's not coaching leadership retreats or coaching high achievers to become sought after leaders, she's helping thousands of audience members create their purpose filled life that they've always wanted. I love it. Kristie, welcome to our show today. So excited
Hi,
to have you here. Hello, how are you, my dear?
I am amazing. It's an amazing day, and I am really looking forward to talking with you too, and hopefully adding something for your viewers and listeners.
I don't think there's any hopefully in there with that bio. This is going to be amazing. So thank you for being a guest. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Honored to be here.
So, you're this strong, incredible woman. Like you exceed. Even looking at you, you can just see the energy that comes out of you. But were you always that way?
No. you know, it's amazing you said strong. And the very first, I'm going to be, well, this is let's get real, right? So the
Yeah,
very
no, we want to get real. We want to
this is
show.
it, right? This is as real as it gets with Kristie,
Okay.
The very first thing that I thought of was not always am I strong. Like it might exude strength, but I wasn't always like that. When I was young, I was a very outgoing and strong and confident child. But of course, as things progressed, there was a time in my life where I was not strong at all. And a lot of my friends and family wondered what happened to me because, I let some outside influences bring me to my knees, basically. And I think it was only because I had strength when I was young that I was able to look and reflect back into that and had people say, look, Kristie, what's going on? This is quote unquote not you. And so I had to understand it was okay not to be strong at that time. And I allowed things to bring me down, but it also gave me more learning experiences for the future to say, look, my strength is always there. It's always there. And even if I've been brought down to my knees, but now it's just a matter of finding it, knowing it's there and then bringing it forth. And then, okay, now what am I going to do with it? So.
Okay, so many of us fall, and I know I have gone through a lot of my life where I have been down to my knees, and even at some points, even below that point, really hitting rock bottom.
Mhm.
And I'm sure Nicole, at this age that we are in, I think everybody gets that point. But part of what we do in our lives is having that courage to get up again. Tell us what secrets you found, how to find that courage, that drive, that whatever it was to get yourself back up.
I think the part that I was talking about that brought me to my knees was a very toxic relationship. The person really wanted to bring me down, and he did a great job of it. But the one thing that actually got me out of that situation was, as I was watching what was happening, the way he was treating me and things that were going on, I thought to myself, is this the way I want to be? Right? It's like, I don't want this to happen to me. Is this really what I want? And I'll tell you, when you're brought down into that dark pit, even into where your mental health starts getting a little shaky, I'll say,
Yeah.
is sometimes you're like, yeah, I just want to be in this dark pit, and you get kind of comfortable with that. But what I started thinking to myself is this really it? Is this really how I want my life to be?
Yeah.
Even if I didn't know how to get out of it, sometimes just the little bit of courage it takes to have a different thought process to say, look, I just don't want this anymore. That's a lot of that courage. So sometimes you really have to dig deep, even deeper than, yeah, I'm okay in this dark pit and, the sadness or whatever is going on. But at the same time, is it really, really, really the way that you want to feel? If you see other people happy or positive or whatnot, and you kind of look at them like, well, I wish I could. Well, that kind of should be an indication that you don't want to be that way. And that's what I really did, is I asked myself, is this really the way that you want to live your life? Is this really what you want? And that little 0.01% of
Yeah.
courage to ask myself, that opens up the floodgates to other questions. Okay, now what am I going to do about it? If nobody else is helping or supporting you, what else can you do about it?
Right.
Because the thing that I realized is there's only me I can control, right? You can't control situations, can't control
Yep.
the weather, can't control other people. But the really, really cool thing that I realized is I had control. I had controls of my actions, my thoughts, my attitude. And that's, I feel, what empowered me to say, I can totally get out of this situation. If I got myself in, I can get myself out.
I love it. And
Yeah,
it's so
that's
true.
so powerful to go back to self and say, I am in charge. And something you said that resonated with me is you said some friends started saying to you, Kristie, this isn't you.
Mhm.
And that was one of my power moments, is when some very good lifelong friends mentioned to me, Nicole, you're acting different. What's going on? I don't know about you. Did you even realize at times this was going on? Because I didn't realize it till I had those people maybe lovingly mention to me that this isn't you. What's going on? And I would say, like, nothing, there's nothing, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Mhm.
I just kept denying it. So was that your catalyst to start looking at yourself? Is when someone else noticed, or did you feel it inside?
I think it definitely, I felt it inside, but it was definitely my support system that was like, what's going on? You used to be so strong and outspoken, and now I mean, running like a scared mouse. That's not you at all. Like, you were confident, you spoke your mind, you did this, you did that. And now you've got like your head down, you're submissive, you're quiet, you don't come around anymore. And I just kind of thought, well, no, I'm just changing, right? Like, people change, things change.
Yeah.
And I think the more that they talked about it, the more it kind of crept into my head. And so that's, exactly, Nicole, that's where it came from, was, okay, is this really what I want? Maybe I have changed. So yeah, I think it was the support system that kind of lit the fire, the little bitty flame. And then I said, okay, you know what? You're right. And what do I really want out of life? And how do I want to be? That was the big thing. It wasn't just the situation. Situations can change, right? Relationships change. But what do I want to be? So I went even deeper than, okay, I got to get rid of this relationship. It's like, no, how have I changed, and how do I want to be when this is over? So I think that's what really helped me learn from that situation. So going forward, if something else like that were to come into my life, okay, I already know how I want to be, and this is not how I want to be. So I can change the situation and get out of it quicker, right? And have a little bit less drama in my life, so to speak.
And let's just say, drop the mic. Like, that's huge. And we want
Huge.
to let people know, feel what you're going through.
Mhm.
Allow your body to feel it, because if you don't feel it, you're going to end up back into it. It's just like people ask, well, why do I end up attracting the same person? Because when you got knocked down the first time, you didn't feel it in fact. So you didn't know about that. And then just what you just said, how do I want to be?
Mhm.
I
That's it.
love it. So
Yeah.
you get back up on your feet. What were you doing at that time in your career?
Well, that was a very pivotal moment, because I was still in college when this all happened. I was literally on the verge of graduation. And luckily, I had some teachers, because I was failing a class and it was affecting my GPA. And of course, I had some goals, right? I wanted to graduate top of my class in college. And so I was literally right as about to get into a new career, right? Graduate college, get into my career. And I had issues in my very first job. I mean, I was still emotionally going through, the process of letting it go and all the proceedings and legalities and all these things. And that's a lot for a 22-year-old to go through, losing your home, basically moving away, you're scared, and new job, graduation. It was a lot to handle. And when as far as my family and friends, when they saw what I was going through, I was very blessed. They all surrounded me, because honestly, the support system is the only thing that got me through. And even though my contract ended with my first job, my second job that I got into was very solid. And so I needed that structure. I needed that solidity or solidarity, or whatever you want to call it, like a structure, because everything else in my personal life was literally falling apart. I had two big deaths in the family, going through divorce and moving. And, if they talk about the top 5 things that people are affected by, it's death, divorce, and moving. And I was getting all that within a 12-month period. And I
Wow.
was like,
Yeah.
okay, we just need to just take a break here. This year is getting a little much.
Yeah.
But again, because of the strength that I found within myself and my support system, that's what got me through. And I was able to focus on my career, because like I had mentioned before, how do I want to be? I don't want to be walking into a brand new career that I'm excited about and be, having this personal horrible baggage behind me. It's like, okay, I've gone through it, I've learned from it. Now what am I going to do forward? And that's honestly been my philosophy in life ever since. And that's actually how I coach too. It's like, okay, why did it happen? Now what are you going to do about it? And that's what I did.
And what did you learn from it? Right. So why did it happen? What did you learn from it? What can you pull out of it that will help you moving forward and moving forward?
Yep.
So, okay. So you moved into this, and now life is starting to change for you. You're taking control of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't get into coaching at that point yet.
No. I was in corporate communications. So that was what my degree was in corporate communications and design and marketing and things like that. So I got into this really great job. I worked for a multi-billion-dollar company, one of the largest companies in the state.
Wow.
And so it was great because, as you were talking about attracting, right? I went from attracting this toxicity to understanding, how do I want to be? Okay, I want to be successful. I want to achieve. I want to move up the ladder. I want to go into leadership. And so that's what I attracted when I got the second job. Because the first job didn't work out and I was upset because, I'm kind of in the middle of everything. And then the second one did. And I feel that I attracted that because I needed a good, safe environment to be in, something secure, or as secure as can be in the business world. But I needed something secure. And so I pursued corporate communications and design for years because that's what I knew. Right. And I was really darn good at it. I mean, I got national awards for it. I loved what I did. I worked with customers all the time. I did project management. But when I was in high school, back before, all the such situations happened, I really loved mentoring and coaching. And I mean, how much mentoring and coaching can you do in high school? But when we had presentations and large presentations and speeches at school, I had no problem going up on stage and presenting or doing anything like that. And so pretty soon, other students were coming to me saying, "Hey, can you coach me on how to present or how to get up on stage and not like freak out and get in the fetal position?" And so that little drop is what I had back then. And I also mentored other students and, at-risk students and things like that. But
Mhm.
I kind of put that aside because of all the toxicity and everything that was going on. I said, well, I know that was my passion, but I thought, well, I'm good at communications and things like that. So that's what I'll get my degree in. But as I went through my corporate journey in corporate communications, that started nagging at me again, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
mentoring, the leadership, because I was in so many leadership roles in high school and into college. And I really loved that. Like that was really my passion, to help others and lead things and make change and whatnot. But I just didn't do that in a formal role in my job, my corporate job. But I started finding different opportunities, extracurricular things that the corporate had offered, different groups and leadership groups and things like that. And I started turning a little bit. I would say this would be about 11 years. I'd say about 11 or 12 years into my corporate journey. No, it was more like 13 years into my corporate journey. I had had enough of structure. Like, okay, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good at what I do. But is this really where my heart is? So again, going back, is this me? Is this really me? Is this really what I want to be? And so that's, I'll pause there, but that's where the transition started coming, because it was starting to get at my heart a little bit of, is this really what you want to do for the rest of your life? You're good at it. But as I tell my clients, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
Well,
So I
the other,
can do lots of things, but it
yeah,
doesn't mean I should be doing these things.
and that's the big thing I want to point out to people is, you have these feelings, these whispers, these intuitions, whatever you want to call it. There's something in you it's like somebody's knocking at your door, and you got to learn to listen and to answer the door. Right. So, we talk about this a lot of times where we want to, if you want to create or move forward in your life, you got to look back on things that you loved. What were the things that you came away with, and you had those, those moments of feeling proud or feeling happy. And when you can really start to feel that, it really can help lead you forward. And so that sounds exactly what brought you into a new pace, a new experiences.
Yes, absolutely. It was very much hanging with the correct association. That's really what helped me, because I think it's Charlie Tremendous Jones that says, "You will be who you are in 5 years based on the books you read and the association that you keep." And back about 8 years into my corporate life, I wanted to have a change in my association. You know, I wouldn't say I had toxic friends or anything, but the goals and things of some of my friends were different than what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And so I started changing my association a little bit with people who were a little more like-minded, you know, a little more positive minded, a little bit more positive outlook, and wanting to have a little more success in life. And success is whatever you make of it.
Right.
But at the same time, I changed my association and said, okay, I want to figure out what I want to do, right? Purpose, right? That is my huge philosophy. So 8 years into corporate, I said, okay, I've been doing this a while. Is this where I want to go? And so I started asking the questions of purpose, right? And that's basically what a lot of my coaching philosophy is around, is find that first. And it can change, right?
Yes.
It can change, right? But at the same time, what lights you up, what motivates you? And what I was finding is I loved mentoring, I loved leading, I loved speaking and presenting and changing lives. Like that was my mojo. Like changing lives and helping people transform was my mojo. And so as I was getting those whispers, I started joining leadership organizations. I started getting mentored by just hugely successful people from around the world. They took time to sit down with me and mentor me for years. And that leadership organization is what basically springboarded me into coaching and mentoring, because they opened my eyes and said, you know, there's a whole world out there where you could do this as a living. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like what? And I know it sounds weird, like, because coaching's been around for a while, but you don't know what you don't know when you're kind of pigeonholing yourself, right? And it wasn't until I had that association that opened my eyes. And I thought, okay, let's start thinking about this. And the biggest thing that changed my life was we went to a leadership seminar, and there was a speaker there. His name was Chuck. And he basically went through core values and purpose, like right there in the seminar. And I literally defined it right then and there, like within, you know, you don't have to have 10 years to figure it out. Like literally it's just somebody who asks the right questions and saying, okay, here are some things to think about. And then boom, it's like revelation. It's been whispering to me this whole time. And I just kind of been ignoring it or just not understanding it. But once I understood it, it was like, okay, this is the direction that I need to go. You know,
you know what that is, Glenda? She is, excuse me, validating everything we talked about last Wednesday.
yay.
And this is like perfect timing to have you on here. And the thing is, you know, when you're working in a huge corporation, it's not designed to have you think outside of the box. It keeps your mind busy. It keeps your body busy. And they really don't want you to listen to your whisper. They want you to listen to their scream.
Yes.
And that's how I see it, because I've been there. And for you and I'm so pleased that something, and I always say your heart is your true center. Listen to your heart and your gut, but your heart will always lead you to the correct place. And you've mentioned listening to your heart. So you are just absolutely validating everything that people need to understand to reinvent themselves and to rise with it. I am so thrilled to hear you talk about this.
Yeah, because it's true, right? I mean, it's my story. I mean, this is literally the journey that I was on, and it really, I was lucky to have those questions keep popping in my head. You know, the nagging feeling, you know, whatever you want to call it, source, spirit, the universe, whatnot, God, you know, something was nagging. And once I listened to it, now here's the really cool part. Once I listened to it and started getting into leadership, and, you know, I joined Toastmasters, which is a leadership and speaking organization. Once I got into those organizations, I was like, I'm home. Like here I am. This is where I'm supposed to be. And Nicole, the coolest thing that happened is once I connected and listened to the voices, guess what? The universe took care of everything else. Mentors started coming out of the woodwork. Coaches started coming out of the woodwork. Opportunities started literally falling from the sky. And of course, this is way before I understood about attraction and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, right? I had no clue. This is 8, 9, 10 years before I even understood any of that. And I mean, people just, I feel that when you connect with your passion, your heart, your purpose, things will fall into place. When you're
Absolutely.
aligned, the rest of the world will align with you, because so many people that I talk to, I mean, that's the people I coach, right? I'm stuck. I don't want to be here. I want a higher level of life. And that's as a success coach, sure, let's find out how you up level your life to where you want. And the biggest thing is the jump, right? I mean, that's the fear, right? That's,
And that's
well,
what keeps us back.
it's yes, it'll stop you dead in your tracks. But if you start taking baby steps and pursuing toward it, we can talk about this later if you want, but if you start taking baby steps toward it, things will start aligning. It's
It's
just getting over the little bitty fear and just take the baby steps, and things will start aligning for you, because that is what you're truly meant to do.
so,
Exactly. And once you feel it with your heart and you know that's for you, your vibration rises. And it has that ripple effect on everybody. So the people that you need, it seems like they show up out of nowhere,
They do.
but they're your people, and you can
Yes.
feel it. So that's beautiful.
And you know what I've always said, through my life when I've had my hardest downs and I was so afraid of moving forward, if I kept on moving forward with just little steps, just taking action and just doing one thing at a time and stop worrying about, like the whole idea is have some form of an end goal. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but some form of an end goal. And then you say to yourself, what is one step that I can take? Just one step. Stop worrying about the path. If you do that one step, things start falling. Like then all of a sudden, oh, well, I could do this. Once you make that step, something else comes to you or somebody else, or it's crazy how it does. And it's, all throughout my life, this is what's happened. And I say the same thing. I coach the same way, because it's so important that we realize that it's the form of taking action that really matters. It's not being stuck in there. Like if you stay there, it's like cement. It's like quicksand, where you're all of a sudden you're going down, and you can't stay in that position, because then life just doesn't do it for you. It's
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
So it's moving on to that step. And, we also have to be grateful for the history that we have led, because instead of sitting back and feeling sorry for yourself for some of the things that have knocked you down, instead of looking at what you could have learned from what you learned from it and take that negative thing and turn it around of saying, it really does turn into a positive. So as you're saying, it's led you, and having that background actually led you into your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And Glenda, I'm glad you brought that up, because that particular concept was the hardest for me, and sometimes it's still hard for me, because I went through a really bad divorce back when I was in college. And then, I had a lot of emotional baggage and things that I was going through. And then relationships after that failed. And, as I got older, I said, I'm looking at all my other friends, right? I'm comparing myself, which,
Don't we always?
I mean, we've all done it. And I was comparing myself. I mean, we're talking for decades. And I'm like, wow, so and so is this age and they've accomplished this, or this person's a millionaire and this person's that. And that plagued me for, I'm not kidding, over 15 years, because I kept getting down on myself. Kristie, you're such a, like you had said right in the very beginning, the strong person. You're a strong person. You're confident. You're blessed. You're smart. You graduated top of your class. How come you're not farther? Farther, grammar people, I don't know.
Either one, I'm good.
Right?
Whatever you say, I'm with.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, I kept getting down on myself, and I feel that negative energy is literally what held me back. And I had to let go of that. I had to, because I kept comparing myself. Oh, well, look at this person. This person graduated with me, and look at they're working here and doing these things. And I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. You cannot compare your dreams to other people's dreams.
And what stories were going on in your head during that time? What stories were you telling yourself?
The stories were, shame on you for being so blessed and you're not further along. Because I realized how blessed I was. I had good health. I had a great family. I had a huge support system. I had lots of stuff. I did not have any financial woes. I had no darn good excuse for not living up to my potential. I just didn't. And so I had other people that I've seen and read articles about that they went through horrible things, you know what I mean? Just horrible things. And they're way further along than me. And those were the stories I told myself, like, well, what's wrong with me? Well, why am I not doing that? And I kept trying to go through the why, and I never got through the why so I could work on the what, to get to the action. I just kept getting stuck in this why process. Now the why is important, but the what is even more if you're going to get out of
Yes.
pity party or whatever I was throwing for myself. And then finally, I had to tell the story of Kristie, you've got the rest of your life. It's not like it ended and you're done. You can reinvent yourself at any gosh darn time. Isn't that what you teach?
Woo!
Maybe you should practice what you preach, and all this. And it was a hard line. And I mean, excuse the French, but at that point I was like, I don't give an F about what other people are accomplishing right now. Like, it's their life. And you know what? They've got behind the scenes negative drama things too. That multimillionaire person that I know, that person went through a divorce and all these other things. That doesn't mean their life is perfect. But I had to remember that what you see on the external of people is not always what's going on. And so I had to focus on myself and say, look, it's time to do this. I've got the rest of my life. This does not bring glory to my life by just sitting here pity partying and whatnot. It's time to go out and live life, because I need to live life while I'm still here on this planet. And whether you're 20 or you're 100 or whatever, it's just live life to the fullest. So once I got over those cruddy stories of comparing myself, that just keeps you down. That's all that does. That does not serve anybody at all. It just keeps you down and stuck. And so what I did was, moving forward into my corporate life, I said, okay, it's time to start shifting this. I can do this. I've got enough in my life, to work on and everything. And even if you don't have a lot in your life, you have you, and that's all you need, honestly, right? Is your thoughts, your attitudes, your ideas, your passion, your purpose. You can get through it with just you. And then, like I said, everything will fall into your life as you get aligned. But those are the types of things where things were starting to change. It's like, okay, now we're in the second phase of my life. I've learned to get past the toxic things, the relationships and things like that. And that kind of brings me almost into present day, back into like 2021, where I really, right during the pandemic, then 2020, I really decided to make massive life changes that really kind of surprised me. I mean, I can go into that, but I mean, that was against all odds of what I did. So
what were you can't just put it out and
let us hang there, right?
The elephant in the room. What were your massive changes, or what went on?
I think in 2020, I had a lot of reflection, because now I was in corporate, and I was also doing my coaching business for several years, right? So I had established my coaching business by now, and my speaking and leadership consulting, but it was quote unquote on the side, right? Because, I had my full-time job. And so one of my really dear mentors, we met up in December of 2019. I'll never forget this. And she had been mentoring me for about a year and a half or so. And she literally looked at me. She made me cry in front of this entire retreat. And she basically said, poo or get off the pot, Kristie. You've got one foot on the dock. You got one foot over here.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like you got to do one or the other. You're either going to be in corporate the rest of your life, or you're going to do this. You're going to go change lives and transform lives and do what you meant to do. Are you really just going to sit here? And it's because I was scared.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked for a really large company. I was getting paid great. I mean, no, my job wasn't going anywhere that I knew of. I had great teammates. I mean, everything was great. I was too comfortable.
Yes.
And
And that's very true, right? Our comfort level. Yeah.
yeah, I was way too comfortable. But it's because I had lost sight of what do I really want to be for me. I mean, yes, can I be in a gushy corporate job? Yeah, all day long, just put me in there and I'll be fine. But I'll just be fine. I won't be thriving. I won't feel it, the passion. I won't feel it in my heart. And I had to get over the fear and align again, just like I did before when I made the jump out of the bad situations. One of the coaches in there, one of my coaching friends was in there, and she said, Kristie, what do you usually do when stuff hits the fan? Like really hits the fan. And I said, well, fight or flight. And I said, usually I fight. When I was talking about my
Yeah.
toxic situation back in the day, I fought tooth and nail. I said, I will not allow this to bring me down. This is not what I want to be. She goes, okay, well, when you leave your corporate job, if stuff starts hitting the fan, you're going to fight. You're not going to roll over. You're going to fight. You're going to find it within yourself. You're going to find the courage and you're going to make it happen. And it was between my mentor and that friend who I said, you know what? You're right. I've been fooling myself this whole time, feeling that I was weaker than I really was. We all have the strength inside. We all do. We just need to allow it to come forth and not be afraid of it. And so I made a deal with my mentor. I said, I will quit my job in 2020. Well, as we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
But I stuck to my promise. And I said, okay, well, this is a really inopportune time to leave a very corporate job of 20 years and literally strike out on my own when the entire world is upside down. But because I had faith, because I had belief, because I felt that I was aligning with what I should do, I would be taken care of. And sometimes that faith isn't easy to find. I understand.
Very
But
true.
if you're really going to align with your purpose and do something big, you've got to do it. You've got to find that belief and that faith and have that faith in yourself. And so what I did was September of 2020, I left. I was done. And
Wow.
whoa, did people look at me sideways? I mean, when you're in a corporate job for 20 years, you have lots of friends, and all my friends were like, what are you doing? Like, are you insane? And my parents were scared. My parents were like, what are you going to do for healthcare? And what about a job in the 2020, and,
Mm.
and people were just, well, I'll get you a job, Kristie, if it's money. I said, it's not the money, it's the purpose. You can give me any job you want. I said, but I have got to. If it's not now, when?
Yeah.
If
And that's
not
a
now,
huge
when?
question. Not now, when?
When? Because if I kept putting it off for the perfect timing, well, the perfect, finances and this and relationship and stuff. Newsflash, there is no perfect time. There
Yeah.
never will be a perfect time. The perfect time is when your heart says jump, then you jump. That's what I had to do, because if I had put it off and said, well, I'll just wait till this whole thing blows over, oh my gosh, we'd still be, I mean, we're still talking about it. It would never happen. And so if you're really wanting to, reinvent and step out, you have to say, if not now, when? And if it's just, I don't know, well, then, you're going to keep waiting. And so, yeah, I quit my corporate job in 2020, but it didn't stop there. So I said, okay, I'm aligning with what I want to do with my career. I launched my business full time, full time. And September of 2020 was the largest month that I had that year in sales. I don't
Wow.
know how that happened, but it literally, well, I guess, well, Nicole would know how it happened because that's, she knows, but, um,
Absolutely.
she knows, but it was the biggest month. And so that told me I'm on the right path. Like, this is what you should be doing. And so the reinvention kind of didn't stop there. I decided also, I was in a long-term relationship over a decade. And, the relationship wasn't going the way that I felt it should. And so a couple months later, I ended that relationship as well. And so, of course, second shock. People are like, "Wait a minute, you have been together for a long time. We thought long term and all that." And again, it just didn't align, right? Nothing wrong with him. Just our expectations and things just didn't align. And so I had to let it go. So okay, fear number two, you know,
I
letting
like
go of a
to hold
20-year
the rest of my
job
life. Yeah.
and then letting go of over a 10 or 11-year relationship. Okay. Um Now we're talking the early of 2021. And so as the real estate market started picking up, I said, well, maybe I should sell the house, and so within literally a 12-month period, I had quit my corporate job of 20 years. I had let go of a long-term relationship, and I sold my house all literally within a 12-month period from September 4th to September 4th. I did that in 12 months. And here's the funny thing, Glenda, I really want to kind of send home is because I had done and convinced myself to be brave and to have courage through all these crazy things in my life.
I love it.
Most people looked at what I did and said, "What in the world? Like, you are literally making massive changes in a 12-month period." Most people couldn't even do the house thing, let alone two other things, right? Just massive, massive life changes. When I looked up in October of 2021, I said, "You know what? I just didn't realize it. I just did it." I didn't realize, yes, you know what? To the normal person, I guess, that is some crazy stuff that I did, but I did it because I don't know how long I have on this planet. So I need to act. I need to do these things. And to most people, those are scary, but for me, it was like this had to be done. I was on a mission to create Kristie 2.0, and I don't know how much time I have. So I had to work on myself and say, "Kristie, you can do this. These are the things that ran through my head, little by little. Start working toward that purposeful life that you've always wanted. Just start letting go of that stuff and start creating the life that you really want." And so that's what I did. But the decisions came easier because I'm like, well, this is where I need to go. I concentrated more on the what rather than the why.
And I congratulate you for not listening to everybody else who would sort of like make you doubt yourself, make you second guess,
Mhm.
because everybody has something to say in your life, right? And that's what's very common. And when we hear people commenting about our life, you sort of sit back and going, you know, did I, maybe I made a wrong decision. And then people tend to step back because of those, everybody commenting about, or, especially family starts to interject their opinions. And it really does hurt your life
Mhm.
because we listen to others instead of listening to ourselves.
And once we learn that every answer that we've ever needed is inside of us, moving out here to South Carolina from Arizona, where I'd been 27 years, I had my people, I had my friends, I had my 5-mile radius, but something in me every day, I kept driving by this same spot and I'm like, I don't belong here anymore. I don't believe. But then people are like, well, but yeah, you can work here or you can do this. And it's just like, this is not resonating with me anymore. And, and then when I pulled the same card out of 15 days, I have a deck of cards. It's called the Farther Gate. I pulled it 12 times out of 15 pulls, which is, it's not possible. And
Whoa.
the gate is open, but you have to take advantage of it or it closes.
Mm.
So I knew in my heart, and I was scared. I loaded up with my youngest child. She was 19 at the time, and I drove out the U-Haul, but I didn't listen to the others. I listened to me. And I think that's the biggest key to anything we do is trusting ourselves, knowing our heart will lead the way, and that's where we need to be, and just letting everybody have their opinions. Just let it go and do what you need to do for you. That's when it works out.
Well, and also I want to say a very big congratulations to you because you're also moving on in other parts in your life, Kristie. I see that you just recently also got engaged. And I
Yes.
really congratulate you because, when our heart is hurt, we're very sometimes skeptical about stepping back into it again. And I know because I've been through those things. So a very big congratulations to you on so many different levels of a great, beautiful life for you on this. And it really makes me smile to see how beautiful, you've really have turned a whole part of your life. You've totally changed it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess now that you're talking about it, from January of 2021 to January of 2023, a 2-year period, it's been mind blowing. It's been a little mind blowing, because in I took care of the corporate, right? I wanted to do the career first. Okay, great. Okay, now I need to change the relationship. So I took care of that. And so for a full year, I literally just focused on myself. I'm like, what kind of person do I want to be? Who do I want to attract? Because I'm going to try not to get too emotional, but I have wanted a soulmate for so long. You know how I define a soulmate, like somebody who I really know in my heart, 100,000%. That person is got my back, and I've wanted for so long. I mean, decades. Even when I got married back when I was young, I hate to say, I don't feel he was my soulmate. And so again, that's another thing with a comparison, right? I started getting a little toxic of, I mean, we're being real, right? I'd see happy couples and I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I want that. And I get a little like tweaked because they're happy and they're amazing. And I'm like, I don't have that. And, it's been this long, and I guess maybe I just won't. At one point I just kind of gave up, and I said, well, who's going to, have this? They're going to have baggage, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I knocked that out of my head. And, I can tell this story because I've been given permission by my fiance to do so. June of 2021, I decided to start manifesting and said, okay, Kristie, we're going to start manifesting. We're going to start doing some meditations, and I am going to write down exactly what I want out of a soulmate. And so there was something I found on the web, and it kind of guided you, and it said, write these different things. So I literally whipped out a journal and I wrote all of this down. Now, mind you, in June of 2021. And I said, okay, this is what he looks like. This is what he acts. These are the phrases he says. I mean, I was very, very detailed.
Wow.
Very detailed. And so fast forward almost 7 months, and I reconnected with who is now my fiance. We knew each other back in college. We were college friends, actually. A lot of people don't know that. And we lost touch for, 20 years and whatnot. And he reconnected on New Year's Eve and said, hey, it's been forever. I haven't seen you in 10 years. And so I said, sure, let's hang out. What's been going on? We reconnected. We went on a first date. And okay, I know this still shocks me, but 6 months later, I went back to that journal because I hadn't read it in a while, right? I wrote it down and I read it and I tried to put it in my head and manifest and stuff. And then I totally forgot about it for months. I opened that journal about 3 months into our dating. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I won't read it, obviously, but I read it and I started bawling because
I love this.
Literally it was word for word, the phrases he says, what he does, even to the career field he's in. I mean, it's weird.
It's wild. I love it.
And so a year after I wrote that, June of 2022, I read it to him verbatim. And I said, you're never going to believe this. And he literally cried as well. And so to me, that is validation of don't give up. It's out there for you. And so the one thing that I tell myself, if I can have anybody bring anything out of this interview, is if you're faced with a tough decision, give yourself the rocking chair test. And this is a story. I did not make up the story. The story was in a book I read back when I was going through dark times in college years. If you're going through a tough decision and you're scared, give it the rocking chair test. Imagine yourself being 90 years old, being in a rocking chair, looking out at your life, reflecting on your life, and say, would you regret doing this decision or not doing this? Take the one that you can live with and roll with it. And
Love
that literal philosophy is what has helped me, because
right.
when I'm scared, when I don't know what to do, am I going to regret doing this or not doing this? I would regret not ending the relationship, not ending my job, not doing these things. Then you need to do it. So that's how I guide my decision making when fear is really taking over me.
It's so true. One part of my life, well, my dad, who was probably one of my truest guides, mentors, and anything in this world, and I adored him and I respected him very highly. And when he was dying, on his deathbed, we were together, and I listened to him as he laid there and telling me of the things that he had regretted not doing, not regretted doing, of not
doing.
And when I listened to that, that was a big, huge aha for me in my life moving forward. Because whenever I sit back, and I love this whole thing of the rocking chair, because you just hit that vision in my head of of him laying there and saying, "Oh, Glenn, I so regret that I didn't do this and I didn't do that." And it was like, oh my gosh, such a sad thing, but it shows you that we do need to look at that and it is exactly a great test to do. And I thank you for that, because that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that literally, that story ended an engagement that I had, a little bit ago, right? Years ago. And I said, I can't go through with it. I would regret going through with this wedding. And, I canceled a wedding 3 months out, way back in the day. And that literally is what helps me get through any fear of situation. If you're facing something that you're like, I don't know. And yeah, I don't want to be in that rocking chair and reflecting and saying, oh my gosh, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
And that's why I became a success coach, because that honestly is what empowered me to become a coach, because I want to help people live a more of a no regrets type of life. Right. I just don't want you to be sitting thinking about those things.
Wow. Well, this has been an incredible interview, and I thank you so much. Time is going by, and I'm always the bad news bearer that says, it's been remarkable, but you have dropped so many golden nuggets to all of our listeners, and I hope those that that are watching this listen very carefully, because Kristie has been very real, and has been and shared so many parts of her life and what helped her move forward. And these things really are things that we need to look at every day, kind of in our lives, of what are we doing, what we need to do in our lives to build ourselves, to build the people around us, because when we do things, it affects everybody else around us. And I know that as a mom, my kids have always been the ones who would watch whatever I do, and it also made me being very aware of what I do because of that as well. And so today I want to thank you for giving us these beautiful nuggets, and what a blessing you have been to come on. And as we said, there's no coincidences. Things happen for reasons. And before we wind up here, can you just give us maybe a gold nugget or two of what people can look for to help them to live their best life?
Yeah. One big thing that ran through my head to live your best life is focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So when I talked about writing in my journal about what I wanted in a soulmate, I didn't say, well, I don't want him to be negative, or I don't want the more that I focused on what I wanted, not what I didn't want. So if you say, I want better health, you don't want to say, well, I don't want to be 20 pounds heavier. I don't want to feel tired. No, you want to feel more awake. You want to feel energized. You want to feel healthy. You want to look in the mirror and be proud. So the more that you focus on what you want and shift that focus of positive rather than negative, you're going to get more of that. And that's, I feel, one of my realizations that have led me to where I'm at now. So if you want more money, don't think about how much debt you have. Think about what you do want. You know, what number do you want in the account? Or, you know, what do you want out of life? What type of relationship? And I feel if you focus on that, that's going to be the big thing, because a lot of people have asked my secret of, Kristie, you've had a lot of shiz happen to you. You know, how do you reframe that? And reframing is really how I've had to live my best life, because stuff's going to happen every single day. It's going to happen, but how you reframe it and what you do about it is really how you're going to move forward. And having the belief in yourself, I feel that's been a big problem with a lot of the clients that I've seen and a lot of people I've talked to, is sometimes they've allowed society or other people or culture or whatever it is, social media, to bring them down, feeling they're not enough or they're not this or they're not smart enough and stuff. Guess what? Gosh dang it, you are.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't feel you have the degree or the credentials or the money or the whatever, guess what? It's already out there for you. You just have to go get it. And so be very aware of how you allow outside forces to affect you, because you weren't put on this earth for just hanging out and then being gone. You're hanging out on this earth for a certain reason, and you know what that is in your heart. You just need to act on it and move forward, even if it's a tiny step. Even if it's a tiny step.
Matter.
That's okay. Yeah. Tiny steps matter, because it is
momentum.
It is the momentum. And just a quick tiny little thing on this is, when, you know, you said I'm a marathon runner. If I told you to go run 26 miles right now, people would be, wah. Focus on the process, not the result. It's the everyday thing that gets you to run a marathon. You're not running 26 miles all at once. Focus on the everyday, the process, rather than the end result. And that will get you where you want to be.
Fabulous.
Perfect.
And Nicole, what little nugget or what that we can share with our groups?
You know, this has been the most perfect conversation today, because it really comes at the most perfect time from last Wednesday. And the thing that I know, and Kristie's validating, is our mind is our most powerful tool. Whatever we create in our mind, the universe will create for us, through us. And so she's absolutely right. Be very specific. Tell the universe what you want, because they can't figure out your maybes or ifs. So use your mind. Don't let the outside create the inside. Let the inside create the outside. And then everything is going to flow. Biggest word I've heard you both use: action. You have to take action. You can't think it or write it and then go lay in your bed or get on social media. Start creating. Each and every one of us, we're creators, and we can create the perfect life for us, by us. No one else gets a say in it. Just what we want, what we desire, and what we're led by, where we all need to be.
Wow. Well, what can I say? What an incredible show. Thank you so very much for joining us today and for making it being real.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in, everybody. It's time to get real with yourself and take action.